They want a show. We can't give it to them. We cannot. If you protest and express your First Amendment rights, please do so peacefully, as you always do. We can't give them what they want. The hearts and minds of the people in this state are on our side. To Americans, I ask you this: please stand with Minneapolis. To Minnesotans, know that our administration is going to stop at nothing to seek accountability and justice. The State Bureau of Criminal Apprehension are working on the investigation. We have activated the State Emergency Operations Center. State Patrol and Minnesota National Guard leadership is connected with the Minneapolis Police Department, the St. Paul Police Department, Hennepin County Sheriff's Office, the DNR, and Minnesota's Homeland Security and Emergency Management. We have activated dozens of members of the State Patrol's mobile response team. And from here on, I have a very simple message. We do not need any further help from the federal government. To Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, you've done enough. There's nothing more important than Minnesotan safety. I've issued a warning order to prepare the Minnesota National Guard. We have soldiers in training and prepared to be deployed if necessary. I remind you, a warning order is a heads up for folks. And these National Guard troops are our National Guard troops. They're teachers in your community, they're business owners, they're construction professionals. They are Minnesotans. Minnesota will not allow our community to be used as a prop in a national political fight. We will not take the bait. We will continue to update you, Minnesota, as we get more information.
And there you have it, folks. And I'm going to tell you something right now. Tim Walz got to be one of the most weakest leaders I have seen in my entire life. And I don't say that lightly, because we done seen some spineless politicians before. But this man, he is in a league of his own. Dude don't stand for nothing. He don't stand on principle. He don't stand on integrity. And he don't even stand on timing. He just floats wherever the wind blowing politically. And he's one of the types that enables bad behavior. And he lets things slide way too long. And then want to act surprised when things get out of hand, like he didn't help create the mess in the first place. Have you ever had a friend that always stirring the pot but act clueless when the pot boil over? Well, yeah, basically this is Tim Walz in a nutshell, because this man is a poster child for fraud, waste, and abuse. And that's why he's not even running for re-election, because Nick Shirley, shout out to Nick Shirley for doing God's work and actually exposing the truth out of respect for the American taxpayer. When you have a governor, and he's supposed to be a governor, operating on the best of Minnesotans when it comes to taxes, right, and the American taxpayer. But at the detriment of the American taxpayer, he was basically pocketing himself, catering to the Somali base, who was committing this fraud through these fake daycares to keep him in power. But since it got exposed, now, look, politically, it beat the brakes off of him. And now what he's doing right now, he's trying to rebrand. He's trying to act like he's grown, like he got morals now, like he learned something. But to be honest, he didn't learn anything. He's just trying to clean up his image because he got caught, right? And this is a plot to basically distract you, the American taxpayer, in which he let fraud continue to go on in the state of Minnesota as a governor. So it takes away from the simple fact that he didn't want to take accountability, and he let the fraud and the crime run rampant, and he knew about it the whole entire time. So when he says that Donald Trump and Kristi Noem, which we know Kristi Noem is obviously fronting and leading the Department of Homeland Security, and ICE got on the ground, and both of those agencies were on the ground when it comes to Homeland Security and ICE to investigate his fraud. And now he's basically telling them, we don't need your help anymore because he's been exposed enough, and he don't want the exposing to continue to take place. That's what he's really talking about. He don't care about this woman who obviously put herself in a situation to be killed in the first place. Now, two things could be true at the same time. Could the ICE officer got out the way? If he could, yes. Could she still be alive today? Absolutely. She should have been there with her Honda Pilot SUV? Absolutely not. She shouldn't have been there. So that's where I'm going to go on that, but you guys can check out my next video for that. But I want to get on to really tackling Tim Walz trying to cover and save face, which is no way to save because the math isn't mathing and the fraud is already exposed. And you had other journalists, other content creators doing the mainstream liberal media journalists work, because instead of them actually going out there to see if the fraud is really happening, you have a citizen journalist like Nick Shirley and now more content creators going to these fake daycare centers to really expose and see how they operate, if they could even get a tour, even see if this is a real daycare. And they all double back, double down, and stand 10 toes down and not letting nobody, out of respect for the American taxpayer, these Somalian run daycares, even let these daycares really be seen, which is sus in itself. And then they faked a break-in, and all of a sudden now the documents to all the kids enrolled happen to be taken away specifically. No money, nothing else, but just enrollment records. I find that very coincidental and sus when Department of Homeland Security and ICE is on the ground. So when you look at this whole thing of him trying to clean up image, he's not walking away. He doesn't want to resign because he's done. He's walking away because he got caught slipping, and now he's trying to spin the block with this whole ICE situation. And let's be real, because the truth is the culture that Tim Walz created is one where people feel bold enough to run up on federal officers like it's nothing. And you got folks out here literally blocking ICE, like the woman who died, getting in the way of Homeland Security, jumping in front of police, and now everybody acting confused on how it got to this point under Tim Walz's leadership, let alone the fraud that has been running rampant and corruption on top of that, which is just the icing on the cake. But all of that is just the tip of the iceberg. And he know that Homeland Security was chipping at the ice to continue to expose and unreveal his nonsense of a fraud that he allowed to go on out of disrespect to the American taxpayer. So Tim Walz ain't hold nobody accountable. He ain't draw the line in the sand. He just sat back and watched this chaos, as you see on the screen, unfold because it was politically convenient. And do I think that tragedy could have been prevented? Like I said, absolutely, on both sides. But here's the thing. We was always taught, and I was always taught as a kid, when authorities pull up, when a cop, a fed approaches you, you comply and you fight the fight later in court, right? The right way. And that don't mean you weak. That don't mean you wrong. It just means you live to see tomorrow, right? I have a child. I have individuals that I care about in my own intermediate family and those who I love. And obviously, I'm not going to sit there and up my chances for my life to be taken away when it wasn't from a natural cause or anything like that, just to play um, being a liberal lunatic or a liberologist, where I'm sitting here fighting against and blocking federal agents from doing their job to protect not only the American citizens, but the United States as a whole when it comes to national security. So I'm not about to sit there and play with no officer. I'm going to comply. And if anything they do wrong, best believe we can catch it on body cam. We can fight it in a court and we'll go from there. But that ain't what happened in this case when it comes to the young woman. And unfortunately, she was out there blocking traffic, and it still blows my mind because I don't know what else she didn't have better to do. I mean, she is a lesbian or something like that. She has a wife and she has a daughter. So to sit there and play with your life in regards of police officers, federal ICE agents, they're all still a form of law enforcement and officers. I don't see why that was seen as permissible or allowed. But like I said, he has cultivated this culture, disguising his whole fraud nonsense. And now this has happened during a culture that he obviously enraged with this liberal mindset to go out here and get in front of these officers and be a pest and pesterize them and just be an agent of chaos. But now we're going to go over to Jacob Frey, who I don't like, don't respect. He should get an Oscar award because he wants to be actor of the year. But now let's go on to this next clip. Check it out.
There's a lot of information that is swirling around right now, and we collectively are going to do everything possible to get to the bottom of this, to get justice, and to make sure that there is an investigation that is conducted in full. But what we do know is that a 37-year-old woman is dead and that she was shot by ICE. We've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
All right, I want to stop it right there for a second because this is what I mean why you have to nip this kind of behavior in the bud when it comes to cultivating individuals, blocking officers, ignoring commands, and escalating a situation that already had tension written all over it because she wasn't supposed to be in that car, in that role, in that position, period. And that's what I meant when I said um, this behavior being cultivated. You can't let this stuff fly just because it fits a certain political narrative. Because when people feel like there's no consequences, they get reckless. And when things go left, now it's a tragedy. And yes, she could still be alive 100%. She should have been involved in that mess. No. And this ain't about being anti anybody. It's about basic cause and effect. And now you have Walz and Jacob Frey out here trying to flex like he is the solution when they both been the problem. And he trying to act like when it comes to Tim Walz sending the National Guard, like that's going to cover up years of dysfunction, which is unconstitutional. And from my understanding, Tim Walz has been barred from even being allowed to initiate the National Guard in Minnesota, which is mind blowing to me. But when you look at this whole thing, ICE is out here trying to do their actual jobs, not on some power trip, but investigating the fraud, the immigration issues, criminal activity. And you got Tim Walz. This man has been getting in the way, protecting bad decisions and enabling folks who broke the law in the name of activism. Then you follow up with this mayor right here, who I feel as though is just, first of all, the individuals should have stayed home that were agents of chaos getting the ICE agents' way. This was never a peaceful protest, and he knew this. He knows that. The streets are already tense, folks are already emotional, and instead of de-escalating, you choose to feed fuel to the fire and talk about they're not here to protect and all of that nonsense. And when you look at it, Jacob Frey and Tim Walz, in the name of fraud, they're basically defending the Somali community like that's the only card they got to play because it really is the only card they got to play like clockwork. This ain't about real justice or real leadership. This was about viral optics. That's why he just said what he just said just now like this.
An agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying.
And when you go back, when he tried to use his emotional viral optic performative politics action of saying this is
Apart, they're sowing chaos on our streets, and in this case, quite literally killing people. We've had internally, we've dreaded this moment since the early stages of this ICE presence in Minneapolis. Not only is this a concern that we've had internally, we've been talking about it. They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit.
And that's the viral optics right there. That saying right there, that word alone was performative because he's sitting up here and you can obviously tell this was his moment, right? This is the speech he practiced in the mirror The don't censor this moment. Call it what it is. But if he's so called mad, right, and angry, he can spare me with it because Jacob Frey been a faker since day one. Watching this dude react to tragedy after tragedy, and every time he steps into the frame, it's like watching somebody audition for a role into a sad Netflix movie. Because remember the church shooting? Same thing. He tried to slide in, acting all broken up like he was deep in it. That was fake. During the peak of Black Lives Matter, he out there doing the most, crying, kneeling, hugging random people, trying to be everybody's ally, like he got some moral high ground. Then it's the Somali community. Now he want to dance and throw on a scarf and act like he really about the people. It's just all fake. It's not leadership. It's just popularity chasing. It's manipulation. He is a grifter with political dreams, and every tragedy is just another stepping stone for him to build his little resume. And even if you agree with what he says sometimes, the way he moves is so overly dramatic and fake that it kills the whole message, because the reality is it started with Tim Walz, who is the governor and obviously the ones that approves the checks that the federal government gives Tim Walz, and then it goes down to the mayor who proposed things throughout the city in regards of him catering to Somali individuals in the city of Minneapolis, because they were working hand in hand together, and you can't tell me they weren't, because it will keep them in power, catering to their base when it comes to these liberal apologists being so enraged and they're going to fight ICE. And when has it come this time where there hasn't been a bipartisan agreement, whether you're Democrat or Republican, liberal or not, to the point of the safety of the United States of America? But see, the ignorance you see, right? In the culture that they cultivated. We've been so spoiled as Americans now that we are sitting here being our own demise. And these politicians so busy worrying about staying in power, they want to basically brainwash you. And the simple fact of you going against the very thing that doesn't help them stay in power. And they know ICE and the Department of Homeland Security is exposing they mess because they in it together, working hand in hand, and they cater to any base or any individual they can when it comes to these tragedies, playing identity politics to act like they really care for the people when they don't. They're really in it for themselves. And he's just taking this viral moment to continue to move the goalposts so you don't think about the fraud anymore.
This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. As soon as it happened and we learned of the incident, we had several priorities. The first, of course, was to get the victim to the hospital and to get care as soon as possible. To the family, I'm so deeply sorry. There's nothing that I can say right now that's going to make you or your relatives or the friends of the victim feel any better. There were, I believe, 2 Minneapolis police officers that responded and were in the ambulance on the way to the hospital. The second was to get ICE off of the scene. There were dozens, if not hundreds, of ICE and federal officers that were there at the time. Having them there was only causing more chaos. Having them there was only making a difficult situation even more problematic, and one that, yes, they created themselves.
He created.
There's little I can say, again, that'll make this situation better, but I do have a message for our community, for our city, and I have a message for ICE. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
Well, the reality is, and I'm going to give you the real translation because I'm going to keep it 100. Basically, he's saying we don't want you here exposing the fraud, waste, and abuse because we've been taking from the American taxpayer, let alone Minnesotans, billions and billions of dollars propping up our Somalian friends to keep me in power. And I don't care about you. I care about me. And I'm going to sit here and play like I'm the savior of the world and the savior of the day and using this incident as a political prop. I could care less about this woman that died. And the simple fact is, when you really see how it's going on, this man um, is just making sure he looks like the savior so he can keep winning elections and keep gaining power and eventually make that leap from Minneapolis mayor to something bigger, governor maybe. Yeah, don't be surprised, because this is the rollout. This is the viral moment. He gonna pin to the top of his campaign page. Look how passionate I was, but get the hell out of here with that, because it's so predictable. And like, I'm watching this, when I've been seeing this and seeing this over and over again and watching it for the first time, I already knew what he was going to say, because how he was going to say it and which face he was going to make that you see on this screen right now. And that's how you know it's fake. It's too rehearsed. It's too perfect. And listen, I ain't new to this. I've seen a lot of fake shit when it comes to politics. But this right here might be the top fakest thing I've ever seen in my life. You're not helping, you're performing, and you don't need a mic. You don't need a damn, you need a damn movie contract, to be honest. So Jacob Frey, he could get up out of here with that. Just stop it. Stop the charade. Stop acting like this is about justice when it's clearly about your own political ambition. And the wildest part is liberals is eating this up. But let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Hope you guys got some value from this video, let alone a perspective, because as always, we're just having a conversation. Peace.